Welcome to Dig It, a real estate podcast by Hubbell Realty Company.
I'm Kyle Gamble. I'm Chief Operating Officer for Hubbell Realty Company. And I have with me today Brad Winterbottom, who is the President of West Bank and Executive Vice President of West Band Corporation.
Which is the publicly traded company.
Yes, holding company, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Well, and thank you both for taking the time out of your very busy schedules to join us. I know that, Kyle, you haven't been able to join us yet, so I'm very excited to have you on the podcast today. Can you both just start with, how did you get into what you are currently doing today as a career?
Wow. Well, first off, I'm 67, soon to be 68, so it was a long time ago. I graduated from college in 79. In 1979, interest rates were in the low 20s. Nobody was hiring people, especially people like me that had a grade point kind of right in the middle. And anyway, after a couple of years working at other places, I got into banking, and I started at another bank here in town as a management trainee, and I was at that bank for 11 years. And then there was some management changes, and I had left and went out to West Bank, and they hired me, and I was a commercial banker chasing deposits and loans, and over time, I kind of just came into my lap here. I said yes when they said, would you mind being president for a while?
I'm sure there's a lot of hard work and other stories that go along with all that as well.
There are. I don't want to bore you, though.
Oh, no, never.
Believe it or not, I've been with Hubbell my entire career. Basically, after I graduated from college, I went down to Hubbell because I had a few years of experience just with my family's very small duplex portfolio, working on the property management side. So I went down to Hubbell and asked them for an interview in the property management sector. And after the interview, they said, we really want you to consider commercial brokerage. And first thing I said is, what's commercial brokerage? And from there, it's been history. I've managed various components of the organization, including CBRE Hubbell Commercial, which is our former commercial brokerage arm, and then all of our property management arms. And today, I have the pleasure of overseeing all the operations. And I've been with the company for about 30 years.
A mere 700 of us.
Yes, a mere 700. It's grown exponentially in the last couple of years.
It really has.
Which has been great.
I got to know Kyle a number of years ago. I knew of him as he was growing up, but his father, Bo, lawyer, very good lawyer, very involved in business acquisitions and transactions, and we used to use the Gamble law firm at my first place of employment. And then his father, Bo, was very involved with the Iowa Bankers Association, which we're part of. Mm-hmm. Right. And anyway, I would find them having lunch together, and I would jump in and say hello, and we got to know each other that way.
Yeah.
So it's been a number of years.
Yeah. I've known Brad since I first started at Hubbell, just through my dad and through others. It's been 30 plus years of knowing Brad and watching West Bank grow and
Did you
thrive.
ever imagine you'd be on a podcast together at some point?
Never thought we would end up here. I thought we'd end up a lot of different places, but not particularly in this location.
Well, I love that. Well, let's dive into a couple of the questions that, I know some of our listeners might know about West Bank, some might not.
Right. Right.
We do have a lot of, just general audience out there. So can you tell us a little bit about West Bank? I know you were founded back in 1893, and you've been really a really good catalyst for growth in the Iowa business. 132 years. That's Hubbell's 169 years.
But we're just young.
No, not even. I love seeing the longevity of all these companies. That means there's some good leaders out there.
Yeah.
Well, West Bank is the oldest business of any kind in the city of West Des Moines. So we were founded as Valley Junction savings bank on the corner of 5th and real close to the pizza place on 5th Avenue. And that was our headquarters. We grew, and we went to 63rd and Grand. And then in the 70s, the building at 1601 22nd Street was built. It was about 73 when the bank moved into that building. We were a tenant. We were a tenant there for 52 years.
Yeah.
And outgrew that place. And this is a project that started probably 5-6 years ago, but it was time to move out of the parents' basement and build our own building. And we decided that was the perfect location. That was for sale. It was kind of beat up area. And it took 5 years to work through all of the project. We finally moved in this April.
Gorgeous building.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Gorgeous.
It's about 80,000 square feet
Yeah.
building.
Just a little bit bigger than the original.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Hubbell and West Bank have a lot of similarities, and they've both been around a long time. What do you think's contributed to your longevity and the success of, in the banking industry?
Well, when I got to the bank, that was, again, 33 years ago. Dave Miller was the CEO president, had been for 40 years. He's the guy that hired me. I would say that the bank was very profitable, was growing. It was kind of funny because the bank across the street, I won't name names, but they ended up closing, and we were growing fairly rapidly.
Yeah.
We were probably, I'm going to say, a $250, $300 million bank when I started. Today we're about $4 billion, a little over $4 billion. And you do that just through creating relationships, knowing people, them trusting in you, you trusting in them to do the right things.
Right.
And I remember our first transaction with you folks, and that was when you built the brownstones on second and third?
Oh yeah, sure.
That was the first, I think that was the first major transaction that West Bank and Hubbell did together.
Second and Grand.
And you guys had a concept. It slowed up. You pivoted.
All right.
And did a wonderful job and sold those things like hotcakes. But we were with you with that transaction.
That's right.
And that really kind of started.
Right.
And I don't know how many projects we've done with you guys, but I bet you 30, 40.
Yep. Exactly.
And probably more than that.
Right. Over the years, I mean,
Yeah.
Hubbell and West Bank have been doing business together for decades.
You guys have been a great partner.
What makes it? What do you think makes Hubbell a good fit for West Bank?
Well, you're very active, so those are good things.
Yeah.
2, you have a lot of money to lose, so it makes it a lot easier for us
Yep.
to work with people that have a lot to lose because
We're in.
you're in.
Oh yeah.
And you've been very successful. You have good people. You have great people to work with. They're very forthcoming with information and telling you where you're at in a project. How's it going? Is it good? Is it bad?
Right.
And you can see that in the financials that you provide. But the communication is always been excellent.
Nice.
Yeah,
Well, you guys been growing.
we have been.
Looks like in the last maybe 6-7 years, you guys have expanded into southern Minnesota.
This is kind of an interesting statistic.
I love it when people bring statistics,
Yes.
by the way. We had someone on last week, and I just rattled them off.
Good.
Like, absolutely.
Good.
Okay, so when we finally hit $1 billion in assets, that was primarily loans and investments, it was 2008. In 2018, we hit $2 billion. In 2020, we hit $3 billion. In 2024, we hit $4 billion. So that's
Nice.
nice
Nice
trajectory.
trajectory.
It took a while to get to $1 billion.
Yeah.
And Now
gone
we're
up
on
good.
4.
Since then, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Very nice.
Dave Nelson, our chairman and CEO, Des Moines native, we actually worked together in another bank. He left West Bank probably 30 years ago, and maybe a little longer. And he went up north. He got lost up there, worked for a big bank up there.
Not on a hunting trip or anything, right? Okay.
No, nothing like that. And anyway, he came back in 2010. In 2010, the economy really stunk.
Yeah.
A lot
It's
of
tough.
a lot of bad things happening in 2009 and 10.
Yep.
And he came back, and he was situated in Rochester and was running a bank up in Rochester. So after a couple years of being down here, he decided, let's go up to Rochester, and he literally hired the 3 people that worked for him, 4, and that's how we got started up there. And then a handful of years later, that was like 2012 when that happened. 2019, I don't know how this happened, but there were 15, 16 bankers working for another bank up there, and they happened to quit on this exact same day, and we just happened to interview them and hire them on that day. It's amazing how that happened.
A little
And-
fateful.
Interesting.
And that's when we started branches in St. Cloud,
Yeah.
Mankato, and Owatonna.
Nice.
So we now have 4 locations up in Minnesota area, southern Minnesota.
Yeah.
We have another branch in eastern Iowa, and that was through an acquisition around 2000.
Yeah.
And then our locations here
Nice.
in Des Moines.
Nice.
I guess I wasn't quite sure on the footprint, so it's kind of interesting just to see how it's expanded.
Oh, yeah. It's expanded.
Des Moines is probably 55% of our asset base.
Okay.
Iowa City would be around 20%, and then the balance, the 25%, would be up in Minnesota.
Good.
So that
Good.
helped.
Yeah.
That helped our growth
Yeah.
pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of your loan portfolio is comprised of a very diverse commercial real estate sectors and property types, from office, industrial, retail, senior, multifamily, development, construction loans, on and on, residential
Yes.
development.
Yep.
What have you seen just across the marketplace or from some of your clients with the change in interest rates that occurred in the kind of the last couple of years?
Yeah. Heavy in multifamily, heavy in warehouse,
Good places to be.
not so much in retail space, not so much in senior living space.
Okay.
There is multi-use,
Got it.
but primarily it's the multifamily and the warehouse and medical office buildings.
Good sectors. Yeah.
And that business has really slowed up with the increase in interest rates. Now, when I started in banking, rates were in the prime interest rate was 21, 22%.
I remember that's what you said, which is
Yeah.
like just
No one
mind
could-
blowing.
Yeah, you got to be old to remember those.
I
days.
didn't say that.
Well, I did. And then from like 2010, when rates went down to almost prime was really low.
Yeah.
Like 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
People got lazy with 3%. Things started looking a lot better when your cost of money is 3%, right?
Right.
Well, with right out of COVID, rates popped up, and heck, I remember my first house that I bought, and I was paying 12.5%, and when I refinanced at 9.5%, I thought I was stealing money.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think people would run from
Oh, yeah.
9.5 or 9.75 rate. But anyway, they are lowering, but I believe things have really slowed up.
Slowed down.
Oh, big time.
Yep. We're not seeing quite the supply in industrial and warehouse that we saw leading up to 22, 23. And so I think that's a positive sign for the marketplace. We've seen a lot of deliveries in multifamily in specific sectors, of particularly in the Des Moines market. Warehouse, we're a little hyper supplied right now. So I think with the increase in the interest rates, it's slowed down construction and deliveries, which is kind of normalize the market here in 25 and 26, which I think is good. It's healthy. It's
not only did interest rate or borrowing costs go up, but so did the price of materials and all the things that go into a building.
Yep.
And that has driven up the cost. And if you're going to build something, you want to do it right. You want to make sure you can pay for it.
Sure. That's right. Got to be able to attract the tenants.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
One of the additional things I wanted to touch on was both Hubbell and West Bank are big contributors to the community. And I know that philanthropy and community involvement is ingrained in the culture at West Bank. I just want to kind of hear your thoughts on why that's important and how it's kind of how your employees embrace it.
Well, first, everybody at the bank has a job description. And in that job description, we expect our employees to give 5 to 10% of their time, including work time, to a charity. Could be multiple charities. You pick.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to lose an arm or a leg working for a charity, but we want people involved.
Right.
And because people need help.
Yeah.
Communities need help. You want to build a strong community, we got to help.
Yeah.
So we have that in a job description. West Bank has a foundation.
Mm-hmm.
I think this year that foundation is going to grant somewhere between $250,000 to $275,000. In addition to which, the bank then also, if you attend a golf event or a dinner or buy a table or doing something that our name's on, it doesn't go through the foundation, it goes through the bank.
Mm-hmm.
This year, that number might be closer to $300,000. A couple of years ago, that number might have been like $500,000. Right. We had to cut back a little bit because of the rapid rise in interest rates.
Sure.
Caused banks to make less
some
money.
adjustments. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand. But it's important, and every seems like every event that I attend for Hubbell, there's a West Bank table,
Absolutely,
a couple rows over, and it's always full, and people are engaged, and we just see them, and they participate. And thanks to you, they participate pretty heavily in Hubbell's philanthropic events. So
always happy to do it.
Very good. Yeah. Very good.
Is there anything coming up in 25 that is really exciting for West Bank as a whole? I mean, it's crazy to think about, but 24 is behind us and 25 is ahead, and it's definitely going to be an interesting year.
Yeah, we are involved in a lot of charities that our good customers are involved with, and we want to stand beside them and help them as well. So nothing specific stands out, but we're pretty repetitive in our giving and in making sure things.
Yeah. I'll move along. Well, and we can link to West Bank too in our show notes so that other people can kind of go in there, learn a little bit more about what you do. Because again, yes, it's business services, but it's individual services. You guys kind of run the gamut, and you both as leaders, if I can ask, Hubbell and West Bank seem, like you said, very diversified in their portfolio, but also in their regional, from Minnesota to now we're in Nebraska, the locations. I mean, how do you lead such a diverse team and such a diverse portfolio at the same time? I mean, what are some of the things that really go into, just leading a team like that and continuing that growth?
The people that you hire are very important. Yeah. You want to make sure that they have relationships with folks, and you're just not doing a transaction. Mm-hmm. Somebody that comes in from out of town that wants to buy an apartment, that's probably not something that we're going to get real interested in. We want to know the people.
Yeah.
We want to look them in the eye. We want to be able to drive by it and see it.
Pick up the phone, know who's on the other line.
Exactly.
Things like that.
Exactly. And you want more than just a transaction. You want a relationship, which means, deposit gathering. It might be personal deposits on top of that, helping them, the owners buy a house, finance the house, whatever the case may be. Kids, all of those things that go into a relationship versus just a transaction.
Well, like you said before, some of the connections you made very early on in your career, even though they didn't start at West Bank, they all kind of led there, and they led to the other beneficial things. So those connections are important. Kyle, what about you?
Well, I'd like to be out in front of our people and with our people in lockstep working with them. I also like to be visibly seen at our properties. And
it's hard to do.
That is. Scheduling is important, but being on site for me is very important. I think it's important that I'm seen in the communities and on the properties. I'd spend a lot of time, windshield time, off hours, just making sure that our properties look right. They look
drive
good.
different ways from home.
You drive different ways from home.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just
Absolutely.
so you can see.
Right. Key leadership is critically important to me, and having that transparent communication consistently has been a key for me.
Being visible.
Absolutely.
Very important.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well,
Not that people want to look at me, but you do need to be there.
That's right.
that's why we give them the option to either listen to the podcast or watch it, right?
Okay.
They can do
All right.
either or.
Yep.
Guys, we are at our 20 minutes. Believe it or not, I know that goes by very fast for everyone, but
Awesome.
Are there any other topics you want to cover? Any other statistics you want to get out there?
No.
So people better understand West Bank, our relationship. We just appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah. It's great.
It's been fun.
All right. Well, we're going to go off the rails now.
Okay.
Did you guys think I was going to forget it?
No.
Okay. I didn't.
No.
I'm glad you
Not
did.
really.
We knew
All
you
right,
had it. We knew it was
Are you
coming.
gonna-
It's easy.
Are you going to ask me about the Iowa-Nebraska football game?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Well,
I was told not to ask that question because I
Okay.
know which way you lean.
Okay.
The off the rails question is, what would you do on a free afternoon in the middle of the week? Which is hilarious. Maybe you take a different route home.
Any free afternoon.
What would
in
you
the
do on
middle of
a
the
free
week
afternoon in the
if I
middle of
wasn't
the
working,
week? Yep.
120 Cubs game
Love it.
in the bleachers
What is
in
your,
Chicago.
In Chicago.
Or here, either one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beverage and
style.
ballpark food of choice.
Old style, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love it. Brad,
Play golf.
Yeah.
are you a good golfer?
No.
But you enjoy it.
I enjoy it.
Okay. Well, that's all that matters then.
Yeah.
That's it. That same goes for me on that one. I'm getting better. Let's put it that way.
Me too.
I
Me
would
too.
prefer a Miller Lite over Old Style.
Well, there you go. All
drink
right.
either.
Well, at least that is for the record. Well, thank you both again for joining us.
Yeah.
I just really
Thank you.
appreciate you taking the time. You can see and watch this podcast on our YouTube channel at Dig It, or you can catch it wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google. And we will see everyone in the new year.
Great.
Thank
you.